Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Fury Wilder 3. Seems pretty much imminent that we're going to get an announcement for this fight. We know this fight is going to happen next, but in terms of the announcement, I would imagine it's going to be probably any day or in the next few weeks, and probably next 2 weeks or so. We know that fight's happening next. Obviously, when the arbitration hearing ruled in Team Wilder's favour, Wilder gave several interviews. Now, one of the interviews he gave, which was the end of last week, he basically stated that, what he's already said in the past, Fury cheated, dishonourable trainer, etc., etc. All the stuff that Deontay Wilder has, been saying over the last, pretty much since November. His fans started with the whole glove gate thing, the spike water, and, he's kind of gone along with it, with the suit and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, I've talked about that several times, and I'd just be repeating myself, and I don't want to be repeating myself. I wasn't going to do a video on this until I watched Chris Andre's video. And as I always say, if you've never seen Chris Andre's YouTube channel, absolutely fantastic channel. You'll see it just there on screen. Absolutely fantastic YouTube channel. Chris is a very knowledgeable guy about many things, not just boxing. And as far as I'm concerned, a top bloke. I've had several chats with him, and absolute gentleman. But he said in his most recent video on Deontay Wilder, and actually it's something that I thought about, but the way he explained it kind of made me see it in a different light. Made more sense, essentially, is the words I'm looking for. Basically, what he said is that with Deontay Wilder, all right, he was a fighter who, even before he won the heavyweight title, he was someone who was seen, and you can go back and look at this as a bit of I don't want to say a joke, but people looked at him and said he only has a right hand. He's not technically good enough to cut it with top heavyweights. And when he did win the WBC heavyweight title from Stavern, people said, well, the minute he steps up, he's going to lose. When Povetkin was his mandatory, people said, he's going to be finished when he fights Povetkin, etc., etc., etc. Deontay Wilder always found a way to pull a win out of the bag with the right hand. The timing of the right hand, the speed of the right hand, the accuracy of the right hand, etc., etc. It was a skill, being able to do that. The timing, the accuracy, being able to get his body in a position where he can land it. A lot of things. And Wilder kind of latched onto that. And he got it into his head going into the rematch with Tyson Fury. The first fight, not so much. It was more so after he got the win over Brazil, and when he got the win over Ortiz in the rematch. He started to get it into his mind that he was feared, that everybody feared his punching power, that his punching power was not just, Foreman level punching power, was not, Tyson level punching power, Sheamus. This was mythical, this punching power. Everyone was afraid of it. So he got that into his head. And for Tyson Fury to go in the rematch and really just go in and do a demolition job on Deontay Wilder, there's no two ways about it. Wilder was not competitive in that rematch. There's no two ways about it. How would Deontay, because he went quiet. This is a man who was, when Dylan White would lose, or when Dylan White would have a shake for him, he'd say something. When Anthony Joshua lost to Ruiz, Wilder acted as though he did it. Even though he didn't. It was like he was the one who beat Anthony Joshua that night. He was always one to say something when someone else loses. But when he lost, he went quiet. Now, he actually said correctly in his most recent interview that Fury should have fought him last year. And I 100% agree. Because if you, for argument's sake, had fought Deontay Wilder in August, September of last year, that's still a Deontay Wilder who I don't think has had sufficient enough time to really comprehend what happened in that rematch. Now he's had a lot more time. He's had over a year. He's worked with Malik Scott. Some people have said Malik Scott is just another yes man. Well, look at it like this, right? And I'm going back to what I was saying about the Fury cheating allegations. Wilder in that rematch, believing that people feared him, believing that no one could take his punching power, believing that he had these heavyweights beat before they got in the ring, for Fury to go and put it on him like that would have knocked Deontay Wilder's confidence to... it's like, I've used this phrase before, but it's like get a sponge, push it down, down, down. You get it to a water, put a sponge in and push it down. Right? It's at the bottom. Eventually it will rise. Eventually it will rise back up, to where it originally was put in. That's kind of how it was. So for Deontay Wilder, I'm sure his confidence would have been hit a ton by that loss. So for him to be able to use these, gloves, spiked water, heavy suit, all these allegations that we know are rubbish, and we can easily disprove them. For him, that psychologically has to be a cushion for him. So essentially he can look at Tyson Fury and say, you beat me, but you only beat me because of the suit. You only beat me because my trainer was not really my trainer, he was disloyal. You only beat me because you had egg weights in your gloves, etc, etc, etc. So for him, it's a mental cushion. Now, Malik Scott has gone on to say that, Wilder is 10 times the fighter Ali, and he's gone on to kind of go along with that. But at the same time, as Chris rightly pointed out, if it was simply just a case of that, why are we seeing Malik Scott work on little technical aspects of Deontay Wilder? His jab is a little bit more fluid, his movement is a little bit better. Why is he doing that? Why is he working on these little fine technical aspects if all it was Fury cheating? Because I think deep down they know that it's not the case, and that they need time to get over the mental hurdle. Whether they have or not remains to be seen. I definitely think they're in a better place than they were this time last year. But they also know they can't go in with that same game plan. They have to look at that, and obviously I'm sure deep down they know what they're saying is BS, but they have to look at that and think, we can't go in with that same game plan that we went in. Obviously Malik Scott wasn't in Team Wilder, certainly not through a trainer extent in the rematch, but he is this time. So I'm sure they're looking at that and thinking, we need to change up things, whilst they're still using the cheating allegations as kind of a crutch. It's a very interesting thought, because so too often we look at what Deontay Wilder says and we just truck it to one side. But when we think about it from a mental aspect, you can kind of make sense of it then. And again, I have to big up Chris Andre, because although it's something that I have thought about, the way he worded it in his video, the way it comes across, he's very good. He explains it in a way that, if you're already thinking about it in a certain kind of abstract way, the way he explains it, it makes a lot more sense. You can kind of put all the pieces together and say, actually, you know what? He's onto something. So again, I have to big up Chris Andre, and if you haven't already, I urge you to go and check his channel out. Whether it's fight and breakdown, how he breaks down a fight, which is fantastic as well, or whether it's the kind of his psychoanalyst analysing of a fighter, that's really fantastic. I could watch Chris Andre all day. I've said that before, so I have to be him up for that. I want to know what your thoughts are on what I just talked about with regards to Deontay Wilder. Do you believe that on a subconscious level he has to understand, or he has to believe, that what he's saying is untrue? That the egg weight is BS, the suit is BS, the disloyal trainer is BS, but he's using that as essentially a crutch to kind of say, right, they still fear me, I'm still the best heavyweight, the only way he beat me was because of this. And do you, like me, kind of look at what Malik Scott is doing and think, actually, although he's going along with that, he's also improving some aspects of Deontay Wilder along the way, little technical aspects, which I think is a good, actually, because at the end of the day, I'm still going to go with Fury to win this rematch. I think more so, I would have given, I give Wilder more of a chance than I would if it was this time last year. But one kind of crucial thing that I look at from Deontay Wilder is not necessarily the rematch, how that went. It's not necessarily the mental scars. Believe it or not, I think Deontay Wilder is he 35 going on 36? He'll be 36, I think, in October. I think that at that age, and although Deontay Wilder's not really taken any major punishment in his career other than the Fury rematch and the 7th round against Ortiz, he's very athletic. You would start to see the athleticism start to wane in around this age, in around the mid-30s. So I wonder if that's going to play a factor, and the inactivity. Bear in mind, we've never seen Deontay Wilder out of the ring for this period of time, whilst we have seen Tyson Fury out of the ring even longer and in a worse shape, way worse in terms of, aesthetically. So they're kind of contributing factors to why I think Fury will win this rematch. Apart from the fact that I've seen Fury box Wilder and, in my opinion, win, and then put it on Wilder and really win. Those are my thoughts on this. So I'm going to leave this video here. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed me, you know, having a look and I'm going to give my 2 cents on this matter. Like the video if you did. Subscribe, of course, if you're new. #GMansRocks, all that good stuff. For now, lads and lasses, I'll talk to you. Peace.